All right, folks, we're back. Thank you for watching that commercial break. So this matchup is a bit of a blast from the past. Socke and TLO really, I think, at the I want to say end of 2013. No, 2014 would probably be more accurate. Would have been a really fantastic match. I still think it will be good. Socke's actually been coming back a lot lately. The last few times we've cast him, he's proven that it's more than just casual play for him, but. I don't know, man. I still, especially in the best of 3 scenario, gotta give it to TLO. It's just he's looking so good lately.
Yeah, I figure that Socke will have one, maybe pretty good all-in, that might get him a game, but I would give TLO 2-0 otherwise. The problem right now for Socke is not that he is in general bad. He's actually in general pretty good. Like, his builds are on point. He knows the meta. He's not like 2 years behind, which would put him in Heart of the Swarm, but. Anyways, he actually, his main, problem right now is actually taking engagements, it seems. He'll get to this decent army supply, he'll do a good job defending, do a good job scouting, and then he'll push out, and then he'll just get overwhelmed. So, that's, might still be the case. It's actually been a couple of the weeks since I've seen Socke, I think. So maybe he's, of course, been working on it and practicing a lot more. But TLO has been on fire on top of his performance for a while now. And, yeah, I can see him going all the way to the finals, as he's been doing. But Socke finally joined us. Just gonna ask if everyone's ready.
Yeah. First map's going to be Frost, then it'll be Loser's Pick after that. So see how this goes. Again, it's going to be the first best of 3, so you guys are, excuse me, catching us at a good time. As we hop into the map, whoop, get that Frost countdown going.
Yep. What do you think about the D.Va announcer pack, by the way?
I think it's really cool that StarCraft is finally moving in the direction of announcer packs. Granted, these first few are kind of interesting. You got Nate and some others talking about some of the other ones. You've got D.Va just being announced for BlizzCon. I think, personally, I think it'll be fun. I know not everyone's a big fan of D.Va, and personally her voice is kind of grating, so hearing her yell at you might not be too fun either. But I gotta tell you, as someone who's had to listen to Isha talk to him in co-op, and I think she's got the most dead, boring, lifeless, please kill me now master voice I've ever heard in my life, D.Va is a welcome addition to the voiceover crew.
I take, monotone, boring over I actually didn't mind D.Va's voice. Initially I was on board the hate train, and then I was like, you know what, it's not that bad. But after listening to the samples...
I haven't heard the samples.
I am back on board with no thank you.
I'll have to listen to those later. We'll see what it sounds like. In general, though, you just have to understand, there's some stuff that we got to hear about at the summit. We actually did not know about this D.Va thing. And there's some other really cool stuff on deck. So it's just, for me, these are the first few steps to StarCraft 2 being freaking awesome. I mean, it's coming a bit late, who cares? Whatever. But it's finally happening, and I'm very excited for that. We're going to get into game, though, for number 1 of this best of 3. Spawning here on the top left side of the map is going to be the red Zerg player, Team Liquid's TLO. Fresh off of a victory.
In the top right, as the Teal Protoss, he is Socke.
So here's why I think Socke has got a real chance versus TLO. Sokke's been doing really weird things, and I don't mean unconventional builds, but in situations where you might say want Adepts, he throws in Immortals, and vice versa. His Stargate play has not been too bad either, but just generally speaking, he's going to be less than, I think, the conventional Protoss that TLO would be used to fighting, and that may give him a bit of an edge. It may also be a horrible defect and cause him to lose the series. I don't know. That's why I think it's going to be interesting to see how he plays. Again, just reminding everybody, this is 2016, not 2014. I know what the matchup looks like, but it's certainly going to be cool, because Socke, as we said, back in action. He's been in a pretty nice outboard swing since we first saw him reappear in these cups. And again, I'm not gonna try and oversell him. I don't think he's gonna win the series versus TLO, but it should make for an interesting one, in my opinion.
And a good game. TLO gets a good warm-up game out of this. I'm just kidding. Actually, TLO will probably go on to face
either Billowy or Bly, or hell, maybe even Namshar.
Yeah.
Namshar's been on an upswing lately too.
That's what I was gonna say. That actually I cannot tell you. I think that the Zergs can take out Billowy, but all of that is kind of I don't know, depends on what day it is, I guess, what form they're in. So I don't know who TL would face. Either a Zerg or Protoss, I suppose. The Terrans are actually in the northern side of the bracket.
Yeah, actually, while I'm not usually too, I'm gonna use a pun here, even though he's not playing. While I'm not usually too keen on showing a bunch of mirror matchups on stream, even though what I did is ZvZ, I think a TVT in round 3 might be best. Thermal versus Stylish, aka Live, could be really interesting.
Yeah, I think that would be a fun one. Well, we do have Socke doing a fairly typical Protoss opener here, especially on Frost. Frost is just like, I don't know exactly why. I could probably, like, if I really like looked at it and guessed and could tell you. Thank you to Silent Rebel 217 for the new Prime sub.
Silent Rebel, does that mean you just talk a lot, or?
He's not a rebel yell. He's a silent rebel.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, is he rebelling against the silence?
Oh, I don't know.
Or what if silence isn't your conventional silence, but the Doctor Who silence that you forget as soon as you see them and disappear? And oh my god.
I don't watch that show. Anyway, so like I was saying, like the Adept opener is a common like in any map. Okay, this is not what's surprising, but so far Frost has been like the home of Protoss like mass gateway Adept all-ins, followed by a Dark Shrine. I don't know exactly why that is. Maybe something to do with just how the layout is for the Zergs to actually catch up to the Protoss, but every single time I see Frost, I'm like, okay, are they going to do the all-in?
Right.
So he's not. He's going to be going for the third Nexus, and it really is not because it's like Protoss and they're the all-in race, because it's not true anymore. It really is just because of the map. It just seems to really lend itself to that. Maybe someone has stats out there saying it doesn't. It just appears that way, but whatever.
I do want to point out that I really like the +1 weapons out of TLO. One of the things we've actually been seeing him deal with, frankly, has been a lot of those Adept all-ins that you bring up. And in most situations, we'll watch players do this in, say, like North American games or other regions. Hell, Korea is actually a great example of this. And the Zerg player just gets demolished, and you're like, well, that looked very unfair. How are you supposed to fight that? And even though there would be a full surround of naked lanes, they just barely couldn't cut it. Like, it would be just barely. And then the snowball effect takes quick effect with the Adepts. The +1 plus a surround out of TLO gives them so much extra damage. Like we're going to see here in the mineral lines, look at a couple of Adept kills, but for the most part, these should be able to transfer away. Kills a lot of the links in the process, but if they had that +1, this might be a different story. And for TLO, not fighting this right now might be a better option. Right, that's kind of what he's contemplating too, as he pulls the drones away as well as the queens.
He's actually getting quite a few roaches, and even a second. Oh, he wants to block them out. Oh, okay.
Oh, that's really clever. I like that.
This isn't really like. Yeah. This isn't the all-in, of course. I already said that, right? It's only off of 3 gateways, but Socke did commit a few more Adepts to it, which can sometimes be very scary for the Zerg player who still has yet to get like an amazing scout into the main base. And actually, Socke is starting to get a couple of drone kills, sends more Adepts over to the third base, hoping to catch TLO making drones while defending and like hoping to catch them at the third base. Doesn't actually quite work out that way. Everything will be defended, but now we're going to talk about the problem of using your Adepts like this. It's like great when they get drone kills and Socke's up almost 20 workers. But the army supply's down by 20, so...
Yeah, and if TLO goes for an immediate counterattack, which he is doing, there's 14 army supply to defend this base with. That's 3 Adepts, that's 1 sentry, maybe soon to be an Immortal, but honestly, TLO's hitting pretty quick, so we'll see if that ends up even being the case. Overcharges go a long way, of course, but the Mothership Core, not here. In fact, only just now floating over. Big thank you to Dunaga for that Twitch Prime sub, by the way. Big love to you, sir, or madam. But, yeah, the Mothership Core's not overcharging because most of these units are out of range. He'd love to use it on that leftmost pylon, but it goes down, so uses it on the second to left pylon. TLO's force just trying to stay outside of the range of the pylons did delay him from getting on top of anything too important too early, so that Immortal actually pops up. Second Robo finishes up, and if Socke can hold here, he will have double Immortal production. That's more than enough to stall out the follow-ups from TLO.
I would say that so far it's been a pretty masterful hold, in fact. Like, not being too eager to pop the overcharges. I mean, they're trading army right now, but it's something that Socke's okay with. Again, being up in workers, yet down in army supply. It really had to be a finesse hold, basically, and I think it was. TLO's still committing to the attack.
I like the DTs coming in. He can maybe consider Overseers, as he does have a lair, but looks like no actual detection in his own bases, which is a little alarming too, but we'll see if a counterattack even has a chance to get off. Trying to knock down the pylon at the front wall. TLO will find the Immortals a little bit left unguarded, so surrounded with the Lings, caught by the Ravagers. There might be 2 Dark Templar, but it's going to take them a while to clean up a lot of Lings.
Yeah. That was definitely a mistake from Socke to try and attack that army with the Immortals. He probably should have just left them someplace where they had Sim City.
Yeah.
That's too bad, because like 3 Immortals is pretty expensive, and I guess he didn't have his guys on the gas guys at his third for some time, and actually still doesn't have them fully saturated, so he does have a bit of a gas problem.
There's the Overseer finally coming up, so the DTs won't be so bad. They did kill about 2.5 Ravagers. I say half because like 2 of them are almost dead, but nicely done. Unfortunately, though, there's not enough really money or warping capabilities even to get a bunch of Archons behind. So getting a couple Archons mixed in with these Immortals would be devastating for TLO, but there's so many Lings out that, of course, have +1. They're going to just do a lot of damage to anything they get surrounded. They hold the Adepts in place, so the Ravager Crucibles get a couple of kills there, pick up on that. The Archon going to try and merge into the front lines, but it's not going to live for much longer. It gets popped off pretty quick.
He's had soaked a lot of damage here, but Adepts still trying their best to take care of the Lings so that the Immortals can really just not have to worry about being surrounded.
Oh, those Ravager Cocoons, by the way, they pop, get really low, and the Queens surprises out of the front on the front lines, get some transfuses off.
I don't know, they gotta wonder what would happen if Socke still had like at least like 2 more of the Immortals of the 3 that died. This would already be a much easier hold, but he's about to have 4. The Lings are mostly gone. They're reinforcing now, and that's really what's been a huge problem for Socke. Whenever he's been surrounded, a lot of damage coming down when you're surrounded by +1 Lings, plus that keeps him in line for the Corrosive Vials to actually hit.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly been an issue, but the Ravagers, unlike their Roach counterpart, the fact that they're not armored, you know, these Immortals just aren't going to stand up. So as the Adepts disappear, doesn't matter whether there's Lings or not. There's too many Queens and Ravagers left over at this point. Oh, the death from above. This is getting a little out of hand for Socke, who was down only half the army supply, now less than half the army supply left to fight with. No upgrades in his favor. TLO bringing a Contaminate to that Robo, so no more Immortals, just gateway units.
Again, like, without the Lings here, you can imagine what 4 Immortals and a handful of Charge-Ups could have done to a, you know, no transfuse, pure Ravager army.
Yeah.
With less health. But now it's just no army from Socke.
I really like the idea of charge lots for this situation, too. He did kind of get this a bit desperately. Oh, that denying that Immortal. Charge lots would actually have done a fantastic amount of damage if Socke could have gotten upwards of like 10 of them. But the fact that he had to keep warping like 4 at a time, most of them were getting picked off mid-warp-in, the GGs get called. TLO takes the first game in the series.
Nicely done. Socke's first defense I thought was pretty good, but things really started to spiral. Like, once he got 3 Immortals for the price of a handful of Lings, I think TLO thought he could really win with the all-in. And he did.
Yeah. I don't even know if he was expecting to get that, because that really, to me, looked like he was just posturing and looking for openings, not expecting to find one so quickly.
Yeah.
But this will give Socke loser's pick at the very least, so next map could be something he favors a little more. Maybe he likes Dawson Station, or maybe he likes Frozen Temple.
Maybe anything. Not responding quite yet, though. Thank you to Iltis77 for the 21-month resub.
Oh yeah, we got some other subs to shout too. Just one sec. Just asking our wonderful admin to hold alive in Thermal if they finish up, and if that's the matchup. I mean, it might not be. Maybe Tamika's surprises us all. I don't know. But yeah, Iltis77, thank you so much, man. Dan Holton also let us up for 3 months. He says, "Aw yeah, keep casting." And thank you guys all. And, of course, the new freaking Twitch Prime subs. All of you. Awesome. Excellent people. For those who don't know, I guess while we wait for the map to go up, instead of playing a commercial, I will be the commercial for a moment. As I remind you all that if you're watching this stream, if you don't normally use Twitch, you're just like the casual viewer who enjoys watching StarCraft but have no interest in getting involved with chat, you don't like giveaways, all that stuff, and you're just watching through even maybe Team Liquid, but you use Amazon Prime, let me tell you something really amazing and heroic you can do for the day. If you have an Amazon Prime account and you haven't got a Twitch account, you should make one first off for free and then connect your Amazon Prime account to it. Thus, doing so unlocks the rewards from Twitch Prime, which, of course, give you cool stuff in other games, but most importantly and most notably will give you a free subscription that you will not have to pay money for. It's free money paid for like by Twitch on your behalf to one streamer a month and one streamer only. If you would consider giving it to us, that would be fantastic. If you'd rather use it on anyone else, that's still cool. We just want to make sure that if there's anyone out there using Amazon Prime that doesn't use Twitch, you don't waste the opportunity. $5 a month might not seem like a lot to you, but it is to every streamer who gets a sub. So thank you guys so much. We are in game number 2 here for the Corsair Cup. Spawning in the bottom right, he's currently down 1 game of the series. It's going to be the light blue Protoss, Socke.
The top left as the red Zerg. He is Liquid TLO.
So between Sake's long, like, headbanger hair and just his super, like, nice personality from talking to him online through these cups, my memory of Socke will be forever, I guess, either made legendary or tainted, depending on your point of view, of the time we did meet him at Corsair Cup. TLO as well. These were actually two really awesome German folks that we got to hang out with one summer ago type thing. But Socke got super ridiculous drunk. And, like, when I say super ridiculous drunk, I mean, like, I don't know how this guy still had motor skills type thing. And I think he had to use every bit of his willpower just to sit up straight. Funny ass guy though, really, really had a great time. That last night in where we learned about the Viking drinking game and played all those silly, like, before everyone left to the airport games. Socke was a true legend, to say the least.
So many people had flights that were like in the morning, you know, like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. type deal, so everyone just stayed up.
Hang on, guys. Something really weird's happening right now. Gotta put my webcam on for a sec. There's people at my front door. 2 Asian ladies with a guitar. And I don't know what they're doing. If it's like the best door-to-door salesman thing ever, or what. I'm waiting to hear the music start playing. TBH.
Maybe they're a religion and they're gonna try and sing you a song.
Now, if they bust out some, like, Tenacious D, I'm immediately dropping everything and running to the front door. Socke with a bit of a misrally. Sorry, you guys can hear that dog bark because strangers at the front door. Oh no. But anyway, Socke misplaced a couple of the probes. Not a big deal. He is scouting the third base of TLO while this goes on, ready to pile on block it perhaps and be annoying.
Yeah, but at the end, that was a really cool party, and Socke was actually a really fun guy to hang out with.
Don't want
once again.
Guess.
What?
Sorry. What? Hi.
Once again, going for the Twilight Council. Really quickly for the Resident Enclaves. It's a pretty solid opener, right? A lot of Protosses do it. He didn't really. I guess you look at that game, and I guess for him, did he think it was worth killing the drones? Because I don't think he might have looked at the graphs after. I'm not sure, but did he notice how much of an economic lead he got from the attack and how close he was to being able to hold? Or in his mind, like, during the game, did he think that he overdedicated with the Adepts? Because that is certainly something that is just straight up going to kill you sometimes.
Yeah. TLO once again investing that +1 melee. Again, I think that this is less of a I'm going to attack you strategy and more of a precautionary move. Either way, it seems to definitely be worth the investment in most cases. Even if you aren't hit by that Adept all-in, right? Like the imaginary waste of 100 minerals, 100 gas, actually isn't so much, because this will let TLO do a lot with a small amount of lings, surround on a Nexus, kill a lot of probes quicker. That +1 melee weapons actually goes a long way. Thank you to Gotcha Godfire, by the way, for the 17-month resub. Long time to be a fan of BaseTradeTV, and thank you so much.
Godfrey.
That too.
Godfur.
17 months of me not realizing how to say that name. I think that's the case with most of our subs at this point.
Y'all have some difficult sounding names, alright? It's not our fault.
There's another streamer I've been hanging out with recently, and I had a discussion with her about specifically how frustrating it can be to say some names and just how bad you feel about it, because you want to give proper thanks but also not be disrespectful, but at the same time you're like, that might be written in German, I have no idea what that says. Like,
it sometimes is written in German.
They sometimes have been. You are correct. Yeah.
watching Twitch, watching StarCraft.
They finally started to walk away. I sadly got no guitar music that I could have pointed my microphone at.
Dang.
But they did this thing, and everyone does this, and this pisses me off so much. Not because I care about the nature of the grass or anything, but it's like the sidewalk or whatever. It's like not a big front yard. Like, you literally just one extra step would take you not on the grass. Like, how lazy are you that you don't take that one step? Come on!
I have a obnoxious front yard.
Ooh.
And, I don't blame people walking through grass.
So this is a pretty big deal.
Right into the heart of like a lot of lings. Right before +1 finished, so this could have gone even worse for Socke.
The +1 would have ensured all the Adepts died without a doubt, but the fact of the matter was that TLO pulled his drones away, and that's what I was oohing and eyeing at, because they were out of range of the Adepts, and normally you trade out your Adepts, okay, you lose 4 or 5 of them, it sucks, but you killed 9 to 12 drones for it. Not the case here for Socke.
Yeah. He did commit to one more gateway than he really needed to expand with that attack, but he started warping in back at home, which is the difference of this game and last game. Last game he committed, I think, 6 extra Adepts, 3 at a time. to the attack, and that surprised TLO probably, and what caused him to lose 10 drones, but also meant he had no army on the backside.
These Baileys might get caught, but they also might get some sweet hits. Socke splitting a little bit late, so a good chunk of the Adepts go down for a very small cost to TLO. But this puts TLO in that Protoss situation where now he doesn't have a lot of army supply out himself. 22 links coming is nice, but still not that much army supply to work with.
Banelings aren't really that impressive anymore if they're below the count of like 15, you know? For like a week or two, right? There was like, oh my god, Banelings are the automatic answer to Adept, because no one was splitting, literally taking the full front of the Baneling hits, but now everyone has figured that splitting
I love this too.
good.
He parks us in the mineral line expecting the Adepts to transfer through, and of course they do. Lots of hits coming in, and TLO might not have had that much army supply, but it looks to be just enough to stop this from getting out of hand. A lot of these Adepts are very close to dead, maybe not dead just yet, but neither are the drones, and that's the key factor when it comes to fighting this and staving this off. Socke takes a pretty bad loss for, once again, almost no workers. I think he killed one drone through that.
I would actually say that was pretty good for him, because he's only down 10 army supply, which is a warp-in, and he kept TLO down again about like 15 drones, 15 workers. So his third base has been like grooving and jiving and whatnot. It's fully saturated with the gas geysers this time. He should be pretty good for the hold in the defense, which is the one thing that he was worried about, was that he wouldn't have anything on the defense while he's getting the rest of his production up. But his gateways are done, his robo's finishing up. Blink actually instead of charge this time, but still Blink is finishing up.
Yeah.
He was a little late to his forge, I suppose, so he's behind in an upgrade, or actually behind 2 upgrades. This TL is about to finish that +2. And that's a little scary, because he is still getting 2 Banelings as well.
That's also getting close to one-shot territory in the probes, in fact. So if there's going to be drops of Banelings, too, that could be really nasty to worry about here for Socke. I love the idea, by the way, that those were chats saying clearly Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't know, guys. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But I'll tell you what, if they actually had a really jamming song at my front door, I'd be much more inclined to listen.
There are 2 women. I've actually never seen women Jehovah's Witnesses.
I don't know the rules. Maybe they can't.
Oh,
I
have
don't know.
no idea about the rules either. I just like, this is something that I've only just realized. But it's always like 2
old
relatively
dudes.
young. No, I get young kids.
You get
really?
young. I get young people for Mormonism. We get old people for
okay.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
I get you.
Real quick, by the way, thank you to Bruce Moose 96 for the 9-month resub, as well as Pat22043, another new sub. Hype! Man, I love Twitch Prime. It makes me feel like we're popular again. Anyways, Corrosive Biles get a little bit shoved off by the force fields, but as you can see, the +2 melee links get the job done before dying. Now, TLO might have to back away from this. The Ravagers alone might not be the best to sacrifice into this. He's gonna go for it. This is risky. This is real risky.
This is kind of what I was talking about for Socke, though. That, like, sometimes he'll look fine on the defense, on the build, on the pace of the game, and he's on to his 4th base, right? He was fine economic-wise. But then he'll move out, and he'll just get surrounded. He didn't have necessarily a bad army, but it was a positional army, because he was depending a lot on the sentries. And they were caught off guard with rallying Blink Stalkers, and everything just went pretty damn poorly for Socke. I'm not sure if he's dead, but that could have gone better.
Well, I think what's really important to know is the +2 melee on these lings is going to make these just so very good to deal with the Stalkers. The problem is they are trickling in a little bit at a time. TLO coming from the backside, looking to hit that Warp Prism. He's going to get it, but is it going to be enough to kill? It is. Denies an entire Warp in, and Socke's attack now falling flat on its face. Okay. His only option at this point might be to tap out. I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. He's on 4 bases, and production should be good, but it's actually not. There's no double robo down. He's sitting there with a pretty sizable bank, and frankly, 38 army supply isn't going to cut it against what's on the map. Oh no, not with all these Banelings coming in.
Yeah. I would say, like, he had a recovery process before he gave away that Warp Prism and, like, 8 more Stalkers. So, this is going to be a tough one. Down 40 army supply with some good positioning and good force fields, of which he has none. I would say, yeah, go Protoss, but just takes the Banelings to the face with the Adepts.
Yeah. The Archon's also distracted by the Lings, necessarily so. I mean, the Ravagers have nothing to push them back whatsoever. Nexus looks like it's going to go down. Last few probes are pulled away from the base. Yay!
Yeah, they're going to survive, but I don't think Socke as a whole is going to survive.
No, maybe not. Thank you, by the way, to Bruce Pulver, however you want to pronounce that. Brand new Twitch Prime sub. Hype! As well as Roy010, 8 months, and he says no message this time. Well, thank you either way.
This is the last stand. Girl's
It's like-
gonna die.
It's a version of that level from the campaign where you're just like the Protoss trying to live as long as possible, but nope. Well, congratulations to TLO. Knocks out 2 brackets, and we'll move on to a third. Thank you to Skeleton Jelly as well, hitting us with a prime sub at the very end of that game. We're in a bit of a sub train today. That's got to be like, what, 6? 5 or 6? I
5
kind
or
of have
6.
lost count, but that's awesome. 5, there we go, because we started at 1,052 subscribers today. We're just refreshing the page now to 1,057. Right, we're back up. We're back up
Twitch
in the
Prime.
numbers. Feels good, man. Yeah, Twitch Prime doing work. Now that being said, guys, TLO moves on, but he's not going to have an opponent for a while because Billowy and Namshar actually beat Bly surprisingly. Well, I guess maybe not so surprisingly. I want to say surprisingly. Either way, Billowy and Bly play, so TLO will have to wait for the winner of that. So it looks like either Euthermal potentially if he wins or loses to Tamikis versus Alive. Also in the middle of the bracket, you got Lily Kineen making it to the 3rd round as well. So that round of 8 bracket starts here shortly. We're going to go to a small commercial break though, but before we do, I would like to urge and nudge and beg you guys to do me one solid and just take a few seconds of your time to scroll down below in the info section on Twitch. Click the banners for Corsair. I'm not asking you to buy anything, but check out the website because believe it or not, clicks make a pretty big deal. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in 2 minutes.